Looking at the S&P 500, so it's also pretty flat at the moment, but definitely created a new higher high. We have a Dragonfly Doji at the moment, also pretty much a hanging man, being on a level of supply right there. Next part of the series, correction to create a higher low, and then more continuation to the upside. Or if not, then if that's just basically stalling, trying to stabilize itself, a continuation to the upside is more than likely to happen next week. Right down, there it is. Let me expand that for 1 second. Right, notice about last month, the bulls were currently in control, hence was actually very bullish. Created a new high. I believe that it's not over yet. I believe that's more bulls to come, which leads to the weekly, and you can see nothing dictating that the price is actually going to drop. Still from higher high, higher low perspective, well, the caveat will be is that if the high of this week won't be broken next week, then I'm going to short this, since it's going to have a new higher high. The next part will be a higher low. So, however, but if it breaks through, then that will not be the new high. Looking at the daily chart, very similar with the S&P, creating though a new pivoting point, creating a new higher high, but in my opinion this might just be a stability type perspective, and heading towards further to the upside. Also, there also could be a probability, like I said, it all depends though, if that high doesn't be broken here, right there, 1650, then that higher low will come into play to fill in this lower shadow, because the low of that one today is 1558, approximately about 100 points from the high, and the major demand level is within that last low, 15479. Okay, but definitely from that low all the way, if I'm gonna put in a 1, 2. So in actual fact, still within the criteria from low, and it's just hovering on that point. We have a void currently filling into play. So either they will push it to the upside or break it down to here to correct itself. But overall, still pretty much on the bullish. It's still a very bullish market. Right, that's it for the Dow. Let's go through, look at the dollar index from last month as well. Even despite a higher high, higher low from here, the bears were in control. So my point of view, I mean, it's an uptrend from this point, but we also have a downtrend from this point, but we've got a triangle formation that is forming between price, so could easily from there to there. That's one. What happens if I cut that across as well? 2. So from within this level first, or it will break out all the way down here to 75, but they need to create this void. So based on the monthly, it could be easily just stabilization, but looking on the weekly, on the other hand, there's a little bit more room in order for that to head back down here, and you have your upper shadow over there, so lower low, lower high from this point. They might retest that, hence that's why in actual fact the euro and the pound came back up, which is great, because part of the methodology, actually, in my opinion, there is some good stuff coming. Okay, let me delete that. Right. There's a good opportunity that if you have lower low, higher low, potential M2, and then bam, 84.25, 84.50. So hence why I'm still holding my the dollar CAD position right there. In actual fact, I did buy more when it retraced. Okay, looking at the daily chart from the big boost, so they gave it back a little bit, and it will be a decider next week, which basically on the weekly created that little higher or the upper shadow right there. So it'll be interesting on what this is going to do, but in my point of view, it is more to the upside. Right, let's look at gold very quickly too. Gold is also the same. Based on the monthly itself, I'm still very bearish with gold. I believe there's some more room in order for gold to go through around 900,000, even probably $800 an ounce. So it's not as strong as it used to be, and even on the weekly, with that gap, filling that gap, my next part is create new lower low. Caveat, only if it breaks through that low, but if it doesn't want to, then back to the upside. Daily chart, same thing. It's still pretty much in the downtrend, unless there are two things that this can create from June. Having an uptrend, higher high, higher lows. Next one will be a higher high, but if it doesn't want to, lower high, then bam, continuation to the downside as well based on that. And crude oil, I believe crude oil based on the monthly, look at that. So it's still very bullish, no change at all. Weekly, same thing, from a higher high, lower low, we have a harami, in actual fact an engulfing in terms of the range. From a higher high perspective, higher low, it will create a new higher low, then the next one will be higher high. So from there, they're just basically retracing from 2 days, from 103 all the way to 108, almost 109 actually. That's quite a lot. So everything's been very volatile lately, which is great. That's what we need as a trader. Hence, that being said, let's go through, look at some trades. Okay, looking at the weekly, very strong. I'm still actually holding it. I took some, so I'm just playing in and out lately with the CAD, taking some profits at the same time, retraces a buy more. Weekly, too strong. Daily, still very strong. And then if you look into the 1 hour, you can see here part of the retracement. There was a good one right there. Well, actually, still sleeping, but prior to the news, actually got in. So next one should be around, create more new higher highs, but it's getting to the level of supply where actually I really want the price to be, but based on the bigger time frame, just too powerful. So 50%, 104.26 will be a medium target point, since just to get some good profits and over 104.69, but definitely my target is still to create new higher highs, since still pretty much in an uptrend. Right, M2, based on a weekly, nothing. In actual fact, back to around the close to 50 in the equilibrium area. So that's the new beginning, new start of the uptrend. But the caveat is that as long as the low of next week doesn't want to go below this low. So there could be a slight little minor retracement to create a new low before it will continue to go up. But that will be dictated pretty much later on. Daily chart, there's no setups, but there's more room in order for buyers to go through about the 104.30, 40 area, which is a supply level, and then there's a big bear right there, then that high price to beat is that 106.08. M3, so on an M3 perspective, no go, so it's still within the criteria basically when this one went long a few weeks ago. My opinion, yes, there is more probability for that price to head back up to the upside. Bingo. So we have another next about an hour and 47 minutes. We have an M3 entry to go long once again. So from M1, there's no M2, direct to M3. Okay, 105, and definitely, like Alex said, this is the major target point. 50 is the medium to get the probability actually winning by 104.40. 60 add something pips is actually not too bad since it's the last part of the move. So dollar CAD is in, no worries. Euro Swiss, awesome trade with this as well, based on an M1 methodology. In actual fact, I went back in again, so I sold at the top and then retracer, which is actually good. Probability of this to head back up to the upside, since also an uptrend, is highly probable. Based on the level of demand, it's actually pretty neat. So more room in order for that to head towards around 126. Next price to be is actually that one, 126.48. So that will take time in order to get there, but the bulls are just currently in control at the moment. So daily M2, there is nothing. Likewise, so let's go through in the weekly chart. So also nothing right there. And then M3, based on the weekly, it's just above, hovering around that 8. And now, in actual fact, at this point in time, it's above the 10. So pretty neat. Still within the trade, and actually, like, that's actually a really good one. But there's no setups in actual fact for an M3. Okay. Daily, if it finishes above 123.45, so only 4 add something pips. In actual fact, less than 4 pips, 3.9 pips. Then there's a potential entry point as well to go long with euro against the Swiss based on the daily chart. Okay, so those are the two trades I currently do have. Going through the euro against the dollar based on the weekly, it's actually pretty good at this one. Since it's in a downtrend from here to here, but an uptrend from here overall, also in an uptrend. We are currently in the level supply. There's a doji at the moment. Would prefer if this is a red doji, but part of the indecision. But also, if we're going to go through an M1, the risk is actually pretty small since we have a series of lower highs. So if I go through from that to that, oops, nice. So it's just sitting within there, and there's a potential pivoting point from a lower high and back down to around 130.78, so approximately 200 something pips in the next few weeks. Daily chart, awesome. So from this perspective, create new lower lows. We have a lower highs, however the bulls currently are in control. And from here to here we have an uptrend, but from here to here pretty much in downtrend. So it's a really good M1 methodology to actually go short, in my opinion. Okay, weekly for M2, nothing, but there could be a potential right there if it drops below 131.90, around that area. But by the time that gets there, in actual fact, it's no longer an M2 formation. Okay, daily chart, nada. M3, weekly, none. But if it chooses to come back down from that to that, 31, well, 200 pips from inception, and then 131.44, approximately about 130 pips to the downside. All right, daily. From last night's perspective, there's a potential one, but didn't want to, so there's no change. Okay, dollar against the yen. Likewise with this guy. Much better price of buying. Currently in a wedge between the triangle of the tertiary uptrend and the primary downtrend. So there's more room in order for that to go to 100, about 110 pips, and then it may retrace back down, so you're going to play a yo-yo. The next one's about August A17, about that area. You have to make a choice whether this continue to go further, but since in an uptrend, the probability that it will break out to the upside is highly probable. But if it doesn't want to, then easy. All the way back to around the 94.76, even back to 90, to fill in the blanks of the secondary uptrend right there after the tertiary will be broken, of course. Right. I'm sorry. Daily. So daily is just stalling at the moment. It's trying to stabilize itself. Probably another day from part of the correction, and then we're going to see a continuation to the upside. So, but you know, if you made about 100 pips to the upside, if actually part of that report or the trade alert, right? You had 100 pips. Next one's about another 100 pips, but you're pretty much in a free ride at the moment. Right, M2 based on the weekly, nothing. Daily chart, no setups. M3 weekly, no setups, still pretty much reading the criteria, but on the daily, same thing. It all depends about a few minutes prior to closing. 98.91, so the closing 98.92, but in actual fact it is in the criteria to go long at the moment, but it's, of course, it's not closed yet. But when that occurs, there's a potential there too, dollar-yen. Alright, pound against the dollar. Looking at the weekly chart, very nice. I believe this has a little bit more room for this to drop. This is much stronger in terms of probability. Higher probability. The pound has more highest probability of dropping against the euro. Okay, look at daily. So you can see here trying to correct itself. Better price of selling if it comes all the way back to 53, because it's actually very bullish at the moment. So if it chooses to come back just a little bit more, then by Sunday, that's a really good one. Right, M2 weekly, no setups, still more room in order for that to drop. Daily chart, there's nothing, no setups. Okay, on the weekly, didn't want to play, so even with the close 52.82, 52.97, so it is actually below the 8 of the 10. It all depends on what it will close prior to that, but definitely I'm going to monitor that. Daily chart, look at that, from the gapping, filling the gap, my own opinion, definitely this is just filling the gap. This is going to fail further to the downside. Right, dollar Swiss, based on an M1, here's a good opportunity based on an M1. Beautiful stabilization point, nice good level demand, good area demand, potential M2 as of next week, approximately 93.44, about 50 odd something pips, but it's on an M1 perspective, good one. Daily chart, I would prefer if the price can come back down and retest. I don't want to go through this low, so we'll be able to get a better price by Sunday or Monday. So if I were you, monitor that. You have that potential good money with a good probability of winning as well. M2, none, but definitely that potential one right there to go long. Nothing on the daily. M3 weekly, nothing but touch the H right there, so they're going to retest that. And then on the daily chart, well, there's also potential one right there. If it goes above 93.28, at least around that area, then that will be good. At this point in time, 92.92, the price to beat is actually 93.17, so it's quite a long ways in order for that to head back. But at least first time after how many days that it went back up to the 8 or the 10 again, so retested. They're going to retest that by Monday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to go above the 8 or the 10. Right, Euro against the Swiss, we look into that. That's also a good one. Aussie dollar. I don't think Aussie is actually ready yet because weekly is just too powerful looking at that tanking. So I need a stability. Bears are still in control, still pretty much in the downtrend, so nothing. Likewise for the daily, there's actually nothing. It's running out of steam, but it's not ready yet. M2, weekly, none. Daily chart, we have it in oversold, but there could be a potential M2 as well, approximately about 89.54, so about a 50 odd something pips, then we'll be able to get in, but there's a potential setup. Nothing for M3, then there's a good big chunk right there too if it chooses to come back up at 230 odd something pips, because at this point in time, about 500 pips, 190, that's 328, but from the last high with this, yeah, 430, so 200, not bad. Yeah, if it chooses to drop even further. Right, quickly, weekly, yeah, there's none. Okay, dollar CAD, Kiwi. Kiwi based on the weekly. Bears are just too powerful, too strong. I reckon this is gonna head back up down here to retest the trend. See, didn't even want to go through beyond that. For the rest of the guys, this is actually what I'm saying. Like sometimes if they don't want to play, if the market doesn't want to play, then the market will dictate whatever it wants to do. So this will drop even further around here before it can continue to the upside. Same, but November is when they're gonna make a decision either to go up or down. Okay, but there's a big empty space between the two to create a price point. Daily chart, there is nothing right there. Okay, M2, weekly, nothing, no setups. Likewise for the daily, nothing, no setups. Right, M3, weekly, currently failure at the moment based on the closing price. Next week will be a decider whether if the price can come back up with 8 or 10, and if it does, then bingo, then we're definitely going to go back long to the upside. Daily chart, 79.83. Oh yeah, 70. Yeah. Right. So yesterday there was a M3 actually didn't see. Well, there was quite a big drop. It retraced itself and head back to the downside. Okay. Alrighty. Euro against the pound. Awesome. Another good trade. Hopping out basically on the top. Didn't like it anymore in actual fact. So what's currently doing from a higher high, higher low. Gonna wait again. Then I can re-enter to go long part of that perspective from a higher low. Then we can go long since it's in an uptrend. M2. There is now a setup through there. 87.24 approximately. What's the low of that? 85.86, 85.86, 85.86.3. Wow, so that is a low. Bam. 50. So I already took it. 86.55, just another 20 pips. No. Okay, I won't touch it actually, because it's just could be just a correction part against the trend. So no go. I mean, it can make about 20 odd something pips, but it's not worth it in my opinion because it's currently just too late. So we're just gonna wait until part of our reversal. We'll see a nice pivoting point and we can go back in. About part of the M3, looking at the weekly chart, it's just currently from the price trying to go through to touch the 8 and the 10, which shows here on the daily chart. almost closing to the 8. Approximately about another 20 odd something pips. We're going to see maybe a smaller drop in decision before continuation. So another potential one to go long, back to the long side. Weekly, same with the euro against the pound. Really strong based on an uptrend. Probability to touch the 32.51, about 120 odd something pips. Pretty good. The price to beat is this high, 132.73, just to beat the trend, to continue above 133.70, 133.87. Alright, daily chart. Stabilization. I believe there's more room in order for that to happen. That's also in the trade alert, so you guys should be in an upside. If you didn't take any profits, I highly recommend take some profits along the way. Okay, M2. There is nothing, no setups. Daily chart, about 50. There's also nothing, which makes sense. Weekly, have that entry point. I believe there's more room in order for that, and on the daily we have a good setup to go long. Okay, it's a nice one. Alright. Weekly, sorry I gotta talk a little bit louder. We've got the cleaners at the backyard. Alrighty, weekly. We have a stabilization, but have a lower low, still pretty much in an uptrend. This also actually was a good one to go along with the low risk high probability. So from 148, 49 to 51, close to 250 pips, pretty much within the week, up and down, so which is great. So from 154 all the way to 148, 700 pips, then from there to there is 400 pips. 500 pips, 570, 327. Okay, so 5 plus 3 is 800 pips, pretty much just up and down. Okay. Perspective, bullish, more room in order for this to head back up north. Back to the 50, I reckon 62, and then beyond to create continuation of the uptrend. Right, M2, weekly chart, nothing, no setups at the moment, just doing a minor correction. Daily chart, same thing, but if it doesn't want to do it, then caveat, lower high to create new lower low to retest that low. M3, touching the 8 to 10, interesting. So, first time broke the 8 of the 10 though, but we'll see by Monday. So if there's more failures, then this is going to continue to go to create new lower low. Okay. Wow, it doesn't want to fail. So, but on a bigger perspective, it is within the criteria, then they could rebound a little bit more then. That's pretty good. Monthly, oh yeah. Oh, okay. So a little bit more bullish. Fair enough. And the probability they will break that is highly probable, unless they will retest and then bam, continue. Right. Last but not least, pound against the Swiss. M3. None. Actual fact created demand. So I want to see here, they might test the price all the way down, then we're going to see a rebound to the upside, but the rebound actually happened yesterday. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. The bulls are still currently in control despite the downtrend, so there's more room for this to head back around 143 before you could either choose to head back south, retest with a good strong level of demand before rebound to the upside. Nothing, no setups for M2 based on the weekly. Nothing either. Could be a potential one if it breaks 143. So at this point in time, from that low 140.43 133, 140, 139.64. So technically speaking, we have within that component, that will be the new primary. Only if being dictated by next week what will be the actual low it's going to be. So if we have a higher low than easy, then definitely we have more continuation of the uptrend to retest the primary downtrend around this level. So there's some more room in order for that to play. Interesting, cool. Daily, there's nothing in terms of M2. So let's look at the weekly. Yep, there's also nothing. M3, just approaching the 8 of the 10, same, similar what's happening with the pound against the yen. Daily chart, similar, nothing. Weekly, so it's still within the criteria to be in fact. So they're gonna settle somewhere around here before it will choose to go through. So at this point in time, still very bearish despite creating a higher low. Okay, any questions for me before we wrap it up? That is it. So very easy.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions, Ray.
Awesome. Alright guys, you have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Hope you guys made a lot of money this week, and hopefully next week you guys are going to keep on doing the same what you're doing this week. Alright guys, see you Monday.
Thanks, Ray.